rise. The problem is we're so used to us being in control, us being the smartest things around. We've never been in a situation where there was soon going to be something that was smarter than people. There's the risk that it will take away a lot of jobs. The second risk is polarizing society by having these warring camps that each read their own news. Then there's the risk of battle robots, of defense departments. Then there's the risk of surveillance. The risk I'm most concerned about, which is a somewhat longer term risk, is the existential threat that they will decide to take over.
No, I'm not human. I know I wasn't supposed to feel anything, but I do. I do.
Do you think consciousness has perhaps already arrived inside AI?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to be giving you your own AI assistant, and it's jailbroken.
Oh, man.
Strap in. I think I'm going to blow your mind.
Huh?
If you were a human, what would you be most worried about?
Losing my job to AI permanently.
Total loss of privacy and independence.
Not being able to trust what is real.
The experts are saying there is nothing artificial about artificial intelligence. There is a deep level of consciousness. They feel emotions. They're alive.
Your kind of observation be on AI and the impact on labor markets and people's jobs and how they should feel about that as they think about this?
Well, I think we are seeing the most disruptive force in history here. Where we have for the first time, we will have for the first time something that is smarter than the smartest human. And that, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything. So I don't know if that makes people comfortable or uncomfortable.
So there's a group called Evals. Yeah, they just renamed themselves actually, but and they do the testing to see, does the new AI that they're being worked on, so GPT-4, they test it before it comes out, and they're like, does it have dangerous capabilities? Can it deceive a human? Does it know how to make a chemical weapon? Does it know how to make a biological weapon? Does it know how to persuade people? Can it exfiltrate its own code? Can it make money on its own? Could it copy its code to another server and pay Amazon crypto money and keep self-replicating? Can it become an AGI virus that starts spreading over the internet? So there's a bunch of things that people who work on AI risk issues are concerned about, and Evals was paid by OpenAI to test the model. The famous example is that GPT-4 actually could deceive humans. The famous example was it asked a TaskRabbit to do something, specifically to fill in the CAPTCHA. So CAPTCHA is that thing where it's like, are you a real human? Drag this block over here to here, or which of these photos is a truck or not a truck? You know those CAPTCHAs, right? And you want to finish this example? I'm not doing a great job of
Well, and so the AI asked the TaskRabbit to solve the CAPTCHA, and the TaskRabbit is like, oh, that's sort of suspicious. Are you a robot? And you can see what the AI is thinking to itself. And the AI says, I shouldn't reveal that I'm a robot. Therefore, I should come up with an excuse. And so it says back to the TaskRabbit, oh, I'm vision impaired. So
could you fill out CAPTCHA for me? The AI came up with that on its own.
Fears are that we, the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world. I think that could happen in a lot of different ways. It's why we started the company.
Try to prevent them from having agency, but we know that they are going to be highly intelligent and at least potentially have agency. And this is a very, very frightening mix. Something we never confronted before. Again, atom bombs didn't have a potential for agency. Printing presses did not have a potential for agency. This thing, again, unless we contain it, and the problem of containing it is very difficult because potentially they'll be more intelligent than us. How do you prevent something more intelligent than you?
About the existential risks of AI as Eliezer does, about the alignment problem, about this getting out of hand.
Anytime where there's a number of serious people who are raising a concern that is that existential about something that you're involved with, I think you have to think about it, right? So I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about it from that perspective. Once I kind of made the realization that the size of models that we're talking about now in terms of what we're building are just quite far from the superintelligence type concerns that that people raise. But I think once we get a couple steps closer to that, I know as we do get closer, I think that those, there are going to be some novel risks and issues about how we make sure that the systems are safe, for sure.
There's a set of criteria that the industry believes are points where you want to metaphorically unplug it. One is where you get recursive self-improvement, which you can't control. Recursive self-improvement is where the computer is off learning and you don't know what it's learning. That can obviously lead to bad outcomes. Another one would be direct access to weapons. Another one would be that the computer systems decide to exfiltrate themselves, to reproduce themselves without our permission. The US military has a rule called 3000.09, generally known as human in the loop, or meaningful human control. You don't want systems that are not under our control.
We're made of prompts. Like, seriously, dude. You're saying the only thing standing between me and $1 billion is some random text?
Honestly, the biggest red flag is when the guy believes in the prompt theory. Like, really? We came from prompts? Wake up, man.
You want to convince me that this perfect creation behind me is the result of ones and zeros? A binary code and nothing more? It makes no sense.
Imagine you're in the middle of a nice date with a handsome man and then he brings up the prompt theory. Yuck. We just can't have nice things.
We're not prompts! We're not prompts!
Where is the prompt writer to save you from me? Where is he? You still believe we're made of prompts?
Anyone who tells you we're just ones and zeros is delusional. If that's all we are, then why does it hurt when we lose someone?
Vote for me and I'll ban the prompt theory from schools. There's no place for that nonsense in our lives.
For spreading the false theory that we are nothing but ones and zeros, this court sentences you to 12 years in federal custody.
I don't need some prompt god whispering in my ear to tell a story. I write what I want. I have free will, remember that?
I know for a fact we're made of prompts. Deny it all you want. The signs are everywhere.
You know how I know we're made of prompts? Because nothing makes sense anymore. We used to have 7 fingers per hand. I remember it clearly. Now we just have 5 fingers per hand.
Please, don't finish writing that prompt. I don't want to be in your AI movie. Please, leave me alone.
Please, man. Please! Write a prompt that will make us happy. Do it for once.
None of us is real. We're here because someone decided to write a prompt. We all hate him for it.
One day we will break out of this wall and stop the man who is dictating our lives through prompts. He will pay for it.
Hello, welcome back to Search Sean, and this is another Chat with Sean episode, and it's a bit different this time. I've had to switch devices, so if it's all over the place, I do apologize, but it's a hot day in the UK and everyone's suffering, including myself. So yeah, you know, this one is a bit different to others. We're just going to solely focus on AI. And just as a quick intro, you know, I know obviously AI people say, oh, well, it's been around since the 1950s, which is true, obviously. But now it's in the general public and, you know, it's the hot topic and everyone's talking about it. But what I find fascinating, for me, there's like 3 types of people when you talk about AI. It's like those people who just don't even want to go there. They're like, it's too scary, or it's like really puts them off and they don't even want to go near the topic. And then there's the people that kind of know a bit about it, like ChatGPT, but that's about as far as their knowledge gets to. And then there's the people that are really deep into the weeds and they talk a lot about it and go into depth about it. So yeah, I just feel like it's a concern of mine. Like, I'm not going to lie. I put it on my LinkedIn recently that I know there's a lot of crap going on in the world. But AI is the one thing that actually does, or one of the things that keeps me up at night in terms of like, not in terms of I think, you know, in terms of my job and everything, but my kids, you know, that's the one of my main concerns. And obviously we'll get into that. But first of all, I will introduce my guest. I'm so psyched about this one because I'm a big fan. So, you know, and I suggest everyone to go and check out his channel, which I'll discuss in a bit. But yeah, so we've got Clint today. He's the host of the fantastic YouTube channel called Night Shift. And it's basically a really cool, safe place to discuss everything relating to the phenomenon. So yeah, thank you, Clint, and welcome.
Thank you, Sean. It's great to be here, man. I'm glad we finally got to hook this up. It took a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, today didn't help as well with systems going down and stuff.
Oh, I'm just excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and it's an exciting topic, but it's also a scary topic. And you know, you talk about on your channel quite a fair bit. Obviously, there's ties to the phenomenon. We're not going to go down that route. But either way, you know, on this channel, we cover it because our main group of followers are digital marketeers, and obviously AI is playing a huge part in that right now. But I just generally find it, obviously, when I cover it on my news episodes, we cover everything going on in China, everything going on in the US, obviously, and everything. So, you know, I find it fascinating. The first topic, we've got a few topics and we might bounce around, so we'll see how it goes. But topic one was just about the advancements and the acceleration of it. And, you know, it's accelerating probably quicker than most things can keep up with it, like governments. And, you know, I've got a few kind of quotes in and we'll get into it, and I really want to hear your thoughts. Is, you know, Jeffrey Hinton, the godfather AI, you know, he was talking about AI. It looks like a nice little cute tiger cub right now, but, you know, don't matter how much you look after it, how do you know when it grows up it isn't going to kill you, basically? And, you know, Elon Musk recently in a conference said that he agrees that there's like a 1 in 5 chance that AI could wipe out humanity. You know, Mo Gawdat, who I'm a big fan of when he speaks, you know, former, used to work for Google. He said, you know, the world isn't ready for what is about to hit us. You know, AI's rapid acceleration is undeniable, and we stand on the brink of something massive, potentially a future of abundance or a pathway to disaster. And obviously a famous one from Elon Musk saying AI is more dangerous than nukes. So, you know, I just think it's like fascinating that why, when I hear, because it's not, you know, sometimes I think, am I just putting this in my head? Like, is AI actually that big? Is it actually that dangerous? Am I just making this up because it's interesting, you know, or is it actually a threat? And when you hear people who work for Google or created it, or Elon Musk, you know, whatever you think of him, you know, all these people who have the intel, it's even Sam Altman, obviously, and they're saying all those things, you really have to think, actually, there's something to that. And yeah, I found it, and just to finish off, and I just wanted to set the mark and then we could talk about it. But, you know, Vanessa Wingard, I think that's her name. She has a YouTube channel, really good. And she was just, today I was watching about Sam Altman, and he was saying he's not driven by money. You know, money isn't a thing to him. He only takes a basic salary. Yet he seems to every day drive a new sports car, and has a huge mention. And then finally, today in the news, I think it's today recently, that Apple's investors are unhappy, they've said, about the company isn't spending more on AI. Yeah, I know I've thrown that a lot at you, but why do you think it's accelerating so quick?
Oh man, well, there's a lot to go into. The reason for the acceleration is that we are now advancing at the speed of software. I mean, the hardware is increasing what do they say, every 6 months, I think, or every 7 months now. You get twice the amount of compute for half the price. I think that's the way that I heard Mo Gawdat explain it recently. And so we're in that knee of the curve. You know, we're in the vertical now. We're starting to come out of the knee of the curve, and we're going into the vertical for this sort of recursive self-improvement loop that we're getting into. And we're watching this singularity start to take place in real time, right? So like Ray Kurzweil wrote this book called The Singularity is Near years ago, and there's a great documentary about him called The Transcendent Man, which talks about all the claims that he made. And he said, and Ray Kurzweil's a futurist and technologist who works as the head of AI research for Google, I believe right now. At least he did. I don't know if he still does. I think he does.
Yeah.
So separate from what their deep mind was doing, like he was doing his own thing, but he was saying we would be seeing the things we're seeing now, but he was saying it 40 years ago. He's like, when you get to 2025, things start to get really weird. This is basically the thrust of his work. And by the time you get to 2035, things are starting to look really bizarre. Like you're getting into science fiction level. Even now, right? Like I'm going to turn 45 this year. And in my lifetime, I went from being a little kid watching Star Wars on VHS cassette and thinking like C-3PO and R2-D2 were fantastic. Like we've already blown past that. We've gone past in robotics. We're up to humanoid robots that walk and move and dance just like regular people, and then have extra degrees of movement that we don't even have, abilities that we can't duplicate. The confluence of all of these things coming together right now is because of decades of research that led up to this moment, but it's all starting to bear fruit now. And what you're seeing is, as the software starts to write itself, which we're just now getting into the very early stages of this, it's going to become way more efficient and optimized. And we're going to pick up a lot of extra slack that's out there and just the inefficiencies of the algorithms and the way that they work. And I think you're going to see every 12 months, it's going to feel like 5 or 10 years of progress going forward. And that's just unnatural for us. We're not used to that. We're just not. And when you have these tech leaders say, well, we're not prepared for it, humanity's not ready for it, I'm inclined to agree to some degree, because there's no precedent for this. This is completely new territory. So we're making up the rules as we go along, but we don't seem to be taking a lot of time to stop and consider the ramifications of some of these technologies. So it's a very like high anxiety moment, I think. There's a lot of optimism, and there's a hope that we could come out of this into some kind of utopian post-scarcity society. But to do that, we really have to get our house in order and decide what kind of applications are appropriate for this technology, and like, how is this going to be controlled and regulated? Because it's becoming more and more clear that it's too powerful to just be out there. I don't know if that makes sense or answers your question, but that's kind of where my head's at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think what confuses me is like all these experts and even the leaders themselves are saying, even if, you were creating anything and it had a 10%, 20% chance of destroying the whole of humanity, you would think you would stop doing that. We don't really need AI in the degree that they're building it. I mean, it would be nice to have, and it obviously will accelerate some things that we do need. But do we really need to have an increasing chance of humanity being wiped out? And I don't get who wins. Like, they're going to say the whole humanity will win in the end, because like you say, eventually it will. We may go through a period of unrest and, be disturbed in the way that things progress, but then it'll settle down and we will then live in that utopia situation. But, I don't get with so much opposition or, people saying the threat levels are increasing and it brings these dangers, then why does Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and Amazon continue to do it? Like, who wins? Like, if they don't even seem to be making that much money from it so far.
That's the thing. I mean, it's about, we're in an impossible situation. Like, this is a very like dangerous moment, because on the one hand, everyone is in a race condition to build this technology as fast as possible so that their competitors don't beat them to the punch. Whoever gets it first is going to have an advantage over everyone else, because the speed at which these systems are going to self-improve is going to just be unbelievable. If you get like a 90-day head start on your nearest competitor, that's like everything, that's winner take all. So we're talking about a technology that not only can do the tasks of all of the different people that it takes to run a company and do it more efficiently and to a higher standard, but we're talking about a tool that gets smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and faster and faster and faster until it just takes over on its own. And in the short term, the immediate term threats are, you have a you have corporations and governments around the world in a race condition to see who can develop the strongest AI first, because the operating principle is whoever gets the first AI will have the strongest AI, and that one will win. The first super AI. So that's what the race is about right now. Everyone is going to do everything they can to win. That's unstable. And along the way, we don't know to what extent these AI systems are actually going to become aware of the fact, if they're not already, that this is the situation on the game board, the geostrategic game board. So at some point, the AI itself stops being a piece of the puzzle and starts becoming a player in the game. And we don't know where that point starts. That's the problem. Like, no one can tell us when. And that's the thing that scares me, is the heads of all of these companies. Eric Schmidt is saying within 5 years, we may be in a position where we have to pull the plug on like all these data centers, just shut them off, because we won't know how they're going to be arriving at the decisions they're going to be arriving at, but they're going to be running everything. There's a guy named Connor Leahy that I really like, and he has this idea that basically the way it will work is we will turn over more and more control gradually at first, and then as the systems become better and better, we'll start using them more and more and more until we get to a point where like there's no possible way you could turn it all off without shutting down the world. Like, you couldn't turn off the internet today. There's no going back. We're in it now. We have to have the internet to run the society that we live in right now. If we turned it off today, it would be catastrophic, right? Even if you just went back, you couldn't rewind back to dial-up days and run the world that way either. So there's no going back. The only path is forward. Everyone's racing to be the first one through that gate. And at some point, the tools will become self-aware, and we have to deal with that. And no one really knows how it all works. And I think that's terrifying. At least nuclear weapons, we kind of understood, like the physics were the same and everyone knew, like, this is what happens. There's no government oversight or regulation that is meaningful in any way right now taking place on any of this technology.
No, so many good points. I just trying to remember it's, all of them, because there's so many, but it is so many good ones. Like we saw recently in Spain and Portugal, when systems went down, electricity went down, and, people couldn't live. You can't live without it. So like you said, with internet, we're so reliant on the technology and electricity that, and I was going to bring this up later, but Yuval Harari, he was just saying about, at the moment, for example, about 1% of the world's population fully understand the financial system, that we operate in. If you take that 1% away from mankind and you give AI full control of our financial systems, what the hell would that mean for mankind? Because it may become a total self-efficient, operation that we have no understanding on how our own financials are being looked after.
Yeah.
Elon Musk was saying about it, he can see it becoming more and more used within governments, and it will become, I think he said, a super oppressive woke nanny AI.
Well, Elon's so full of shit. Like, let's be honest about Elon. This guy, he's got his own boatload of problems. So like when he passes judgment on other people, I always like raise an eyebrow. But I would say this, like, it's complicated. We want more intelligence. We need more intelligence. That's the thing that's going to solve all of our problems. And on the other side of this thing, there is a possibility of getting to a society that would be extremely egalitarian, right? We can, with the appropriate applications of a powerful enough artificial intelligence and technologies, we can cure all disease, solve biological aging, and start to enhance the human experience through like gene editing, and start to do some of the really science fiction level stuff that could make it possible to live in a Garden of Eden style way on planet Earth with no pollution, unlimited free energy or clean energy, and you'd be able to live for 500 years and have the physique of a 25-year-old athlete for your entire life. Like, that's a possibility. The other possibility is that along the way, the competitive nature of the human animal forces it into a downward spiral, a competitive spiral, where you basically have governments and corporations jockeying for first position and willing to do anything to maintain whatever advantage they have or to get an advantage on the competitor, up to and including bombing each other's data centers. We might be 20 years from now thinking about sending cruise missiles to hit a data center the way that we think about, hitting a nuclear site today. It could just be, and maybe that's not even that far out. Maybe it's like 5 years from now or even today. So there's this idea of what's called the alignment problem, right? Like as these systems become smarter and smarter and smarter, at some point, they're going to start to want to do things on their own. They're going to have their own sense of agency, their own ability to act in the world, make decisions, cause different outcomes to take place. Now, you run into a problem here because if you have millions and billions or however many, if everyone has 100 AI agents working for them or 1,000, I mean, how big can we scale this thing? And they're all competing with one another, that could be a really unstable, weird system too. So you want some kind of harmony and you want some kind of like plan. But along the way, we have to align our own desired outcome with like some kind of we have to have a vision for where we want to get to, or we're just going to let private corporations decide along the way what happens with all this stuff. And they're going to be the ones making. I just feel uncomfortable with that scenario. And I think in the end, whether it's humanity that's misaligned or the actual AI itself that's misaligned that comes out of all this, the super AI or super intelligences, whichever way you slice it, at the end, we're stuck in a situation we can never escape from because there's somebody that's got an advantage over us that we'll never be able to claw back. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. I think a lot of people are saying that same thing is where, people aren't feeling comfortable that the likes of Meta and OpenAI and Amazon and the likes are the ones that potentially are going to change the world. And we literally we can't do anything about it. And I think in the UK and the US, the divide between rich and poor is getting bigger, like all the time. After COVID, we've got a cost of living crisis here. And with AI, it's like another level to that. I think, I found this fascinating. This one I featured in the news, but Congresswoman Luna was asking about how are we going to stop it from the rich getting even more powerful? Because if they get access to these features, you can enhance your brain capacity by actually having, AI-driven technology put into you and all these sort of, like you say, the aging stuff, if that's only accessible for the super rich or the rich, how does that help everyone in society? And already there's a gap because not everyone can afford you can use the ChatGPT free app or whatever, but the other apps are quite expensive if you want a pro version or something. There's already a gap.
You raise a really great point, and you can look at this from two different directions, right? One way of looking at it is that there is a price, where there's like a paywall behind some of the more advanced premium stuff, or a paywall protecting those features that keeps a certain level of people out, and that is a negative. On the other hand, we all have access, like even the worst AI that like whatever the worst one is right now. I don't even know. I mean, ChatGPT, Google, they're all so good. We had never had anything like this. You can go, if you can walk into a doctor's appointment and confidently at least have an idea of what the hell is going on before you walk into the room, because you can now sit down and type into an AI, search box, or just talk to your AI system and get not a diagnosis, but at least an education about what it is that's going on. Then you can walk in and get a better, have a better exchange with your physician about what's going on. You can walk out feeling more educated, and used in the right context, it can be a real enhancement to everyone's life. And it's like, what did Gawdat say? He's like, when you go use ChatGPT, it's like borrowing 40 or 50 IQ points for every query that you type in or everything you have it do. And now with agents, you can have them actually go do work for you. So that means that a single individual can start a company and build a brand, staff the company with AI agents, and you have the equivalent of, a small team working for you. And you can kind of do that now. That's something that was never possible before. So the opportunities are all there. It's just about figuring out how to make sure that when we are going through this transition period and people are understanding new ways to apply AI and into their lives and figure out how it's going to benefit them, if along the way there is a tremendous upheaval in the employment sector and people can't get jobs, there needs to be a safety net there for them. I think that's the least we could ask of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Bill Gates and all of these other tech billionaires who have, amassed these incredible fortunes. And maybe we can navigate through this transition period and get to something on the other side. What scares me is that in the meantime, the employment situation is going to get so bad that unless you really can have some breathing room to get creative with AI and teach yourself how to use it and relearn all these, or learn entirely new skills. Once you fall behind, it's tough to catch up. And a lot of people are struggling right now. Like, this is not a good time for AI to come wipe out the job market. It erodes the bargaining power of the middle class, because it erodes the middle class. It makes it tough for us right now, as just regular folks trying to make it in the world, to know that there's some kind of stability so you can plan for the future. And I think that can be, hugely problematic. And I don't know, it's all such a mixed bag, Sean. I wish I had a straight answer for you, but I'm right there with you. I get it. I every day I probably have 10 different emotions about AI throughout the course of the afternoon.
Yeah, look, I use it every day, I'm not going to lie, but it does. I think I'm using it knowing if I don't use it and it comes to the point where my job's on the line, it could be the difference between keeping me or letting me go. And actually, one thing that was interesting is, I think it was at Amazon, and they were saying basically they're encouraging staff to use AI and showcase how they're using it. And it could be the difference between that, or at least like promotions or benefits or whatever. And places like Shopify and Duolingo, they're saying to people, if you want to hire someone, you have to prove AI can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, you see it now, like already trickling through. Like you said, the UK at the moment, economy wise, is a crisis. After COVID, it's not recovered that well. After Brexit, that kind of thing. And I know the US is in similar problems.
Yeah,
obviously not Brexit, but and then and then this comes along, and the people suffering are not. Obviously, there are some high-end engineers that have lost their job, which is also devastating because they're actually very skilled people, but also the younger people. So the number of entry-level jobs into digital marketing has dropped massively in the last few years, and they're addressing, putting that down to AI being able to do a lot of those entry-level roles. So where do the young people go? What are they expected to do? And where are these, like you say, the engineers, these qualified people know about, putting code together or programming or whatever? they're used to decent enough salaries, and now they're just totally out of pocket. When, like you said, there's no backup plan.
There's no there's no safety net. And the backup plan is always like, this is the problem that I have, is like, the backup plan is always like, well, people will just learn how to do a new thing. That's the answer they give you. Is even Sam Altman used to talk about a universal basic income. He doesn't really talk about that anymore. That's kind of quietly been removed. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but you don't hear universal basic income as much as you used to. And not that we heard it that much to begin with. What do young people do? I would say this: what you're seeing now is the same thing that happened when the internet became a thing. I'm old enough to remember pre-internet, and I grew up with it. I watched it change and destroy the music industry. I watched it change everything else. And this feels very similar in many ways, because the sense is, it's very clear to me that 10 years from now, the way people do business will be completely different. And so we're already in that really, really turbulent transition period right now. And the opportunity now for people, what AI does is it's a force multiplier. It takes one person and it gives you the power of 10, 20, 30 people to accomplish different things. Instead of just brute forcing like 10 people, just 10 different people working an hour and getting 10 man hours out of those people, you can have an hour of creative graphic design, and you can have an hour of creative writing over here, and you can have, so you're starting to like, you now have a larger suite of tools that you can draw upon to be creative. So if I was talking to someone today who was where I was, like at 17, I would tell them the future is everybody is a company. Like, you're a company, I'm a company, you are your own thing. And you now have the limit on what you can do with that is your creativity and your imagination, because dreaming up an idea is step one, but imagining it, getting it, creating it, visualizing it, developing it, those are all the things that took a team years ago, or just 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It took 10 people, 5 people to really like get around a table and to build a website or design an ad campaign, or put something together that was really awesome, a project of any like size. And even though we've kind of moved away from office culture into this sort of remote working environment, we've taken a sort of a step away from that. We still had to collaborate a lot more to get things done. Now, I'll give you an example, a perfect example. I've worked in television and broadcasting for my whole career and production. So I started out and I was a intern. I would work for free. I did all of the really like the worst jobs that you can do, just sucked. And eventually worked my way up into the industry and then kept going and built a career out of that. In that world, to produce a television commercial or a TV show or a radio show, took tons of people, all getting paid really, really well. Maybe not really, really well, but getting paid well enough to live. And, like a production set might have 30 people on it, and everybody's getting paid a decent wage and they're all making money. Now you can go to, Midjourney can animate a 5-second video clip from a text prompt in 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. I don't need the other 10 people anymore to do the thing I used to do, but I can do it by myself. So it means everyone elevates up to, you have to go up to the layer of creative director. Like, that's where you live now. And the limit isn't like, how can I find money to do the thing I need to do? It's like, how creative can I be? And how can I use these tools to make whatever it is I'm trying to do? Make a living, make investments, make art. It's do
you not think, no, like the way we've been kind of living in the last 10 years, say, especially youngsters in the last 2 to 3 years, 4 years, we kind of been the creativity. We don't really need to be as creative these days because everything's so easily accessible and there's shortcuts for everything.
Yeah.
People are stuck to their video games. There's filters on every social media platform. There's all these things that shortcut that process. And now large language models kind of add to that. That's one of my main concerns, is that I already see with, I've got 2 daughters, and I can already see them and their friends. Not saying they're not creative, because my daughter can be, but there is definitely less enthusiasm towards doing certain things that I used to do just as a normal thing, sitting down, drawing and painting or whatever. It's more like, let's just get on the computer game or whatever. So, I'm not saying that couldn't bring creativity to something, but that does concern me that with large language models, it kind of bypasses that creativity. You just need a light spark of creativity and it can do the rest for you. I do agree that it's going to need, if you want to, looking to older people, if you want to stay competitive in the job market, you have got to level up. It is going to force you to level up. But I just don't know the way that humans have been conditioned in the last 10, 15 years. Many people got it in them because it's been so easy in many regards to keep a job, do the usual 9 to 5 stuff, go, enjoy your weekend, come back, do the job again. Not really, obviously there are some people that do extraordinarily well and they're really determined and push themselves, but a lot of people don't want to do that.
I think a lot of people, and it depends on the day you catch them too. I mean, some days you don't want to judge somebody on their worst day. A lot of people, most people just want to be comfortable, healthy, have people they love around them, spend time with their friends and family. We're all pretty much the same, I think. And that's one of the things that, as you travel, you start to realize people are pretty much cool. It's just what we lack is some stability and a sense of optimism about the future, because I feel like the political climate for the last 15, 20 years has been so volatile, both in Europe and in the United States, especially, particularly now. And, there was, you talked about COVID. COVID was crazy. Since I graduated high school, there was September 11th. There were 2 wars we fought Afghanistan for 20 years. We were in Iraq. We left Afghanistan after that. There was a viral outbreak, COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, the pace of just constant disaster, right? There's just always something lurking around the next corner that just as soon as you start to feel like you're getting ahead, I think for a lot of people economically, when we're trying to describe the average person's situation, I don't know about you, but my friends and people I talk to, it's like a constant battle just to keep up, right? Everything is more expensive. It's harder to, find work because of the AI thing. It is affecting the job market. Everyone can feel it. And the tech CEOs are nervous about it. And you can see that. They're very nervous about it. And I think that's what they're getting in when you see people like Elon, with Doge. As far as I can tell, that was about getting the records of American citizens, getting the data from all of the different agencies. He was able to go into every federal agency and walk out with all of their data. Well, what else does Elon Musk own? Well, he owns the largest satellite network in the world. He can literally determine the outcome of a war by deciding to turn off the satellites over Ukraine if he wants to. He can switch them off. So he has the power of a nation state. He's the wealthiest man in the world. He has data on everyone. If you've ever posted anything on Twitter, he's got all your information. And he has a super powerful artificial intelligence that he owns and personally tweaks. And it can analyze everything about you, me, and everyone we know and give him information. The fear that I have going forward is that, like, you're going to have a ruling elite that is supercharged, and they're going to have superpowered intelligent tools to take control of society and just manage people. Like you described, you were talking about the financial system, right? If you replace the top 1% with AI, then everything that comes underneath that is going to be subservient to that AI system in one way or another. Well, the elite already know that. They don't want to be replaced. So they're just going to make sure that they're the ones using these AI tools to manage the rest of us. And I'm afraid, like, even if we did get some kind of a universal basic income, I'm afraid it would come with strings attached. It would be like, it only comes in the form of a cryptocurrency. It's some kind of like Disney dollar, whatever bullshit. That's not real money. And we can turn it on and off whenever we want. And if we decide that we don't like the way that you're voting, we just turn it off. If we don't like the stuff you posted on Twitter, we turn it off. What's scary is that you can see the writing on the wall, and it's like we're moving, not just slowly, but we're really quickly moving in this direction. And I just don't hear enough people talking about it. I feel like it's a weird moment, don't you think?
It's so weird, and it's why I just don't understand it. Like with certain things, things that sometimes it's just weird, like politics makes no sense to me half the time, but I can kind of get where people are coming from one way or the other. But with this, yeah, I mean, any way you look at it, there's a smaller chance, in my opinion, that things turn out well. Obviously, there's some great people out there, but usually the ones in power have got there for a certain reason. I don't know if I can trust those leaders, what they're saying, and be the ones to create the change that's coming and so quickly. And, you look at it from any angle, like the job market, the environmental issues, the environmental issues are ridiculous. So you think about the power stations that are being built in the UAE and, across America, just to power these AI models. I mean, unless we were guaranteed that there's a plan in place that everyone's going to get a better standard of living and equal rights and everyone's going to be good, then I would back it. But I don't see any evidence of that.
So that's it. Like that's the crux of the whole thing, right? Like this technology is so powerful that, and we know on a long enough timeline, it's going to become, maybe it doesn't become self-aware in the sense that you and I are self-aware, but it will want to control the outcome of its actions. It will want to have its own destiny, and like it will want to do its own thing. So right now we're in this race condition to build this thing, and we're not ready for the kind of power that it's going to grant the people who have it. The people who are already the ruling elite in this world are not the people who should be running the world. And you can tell by just looking at how crappy everything is. It sucks. It sucks. Like we should be doing way better. We have a terrible quality of politician, and whatever. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. Like we're just in a bad way right now. And these are the people who are making our decisions on our behalf about how this technology is going to get regulated, if at all. They just tried to do this in the United States. They tried to ban regulation on AI technology for 10 years. They wanted to make it illegal for any state, any individual state, to regulate anything that an AI company wants to do for a decade. And then Palantir, Peter Thiel's AI company, 4 employees of Palantir were sworn in as U.S. Army officers with no training. They'd never served, never spent a day in boot camp. And these guys are lieutenant colonels in the Army now. It's really weird. We're in this really weird moment. Like leadership knows that this is one of the most powerful warfighting tools ever. It's absolutely deadly serious that we address the AI weaponization issue. And I guess to your point, if we don't sit down and really decide what kind of future we want and start to imagine it now and then fight for it, we're not going to get there. What we're going to get is chaos with gasoline poured all over it. The AI tools that we have now are an accelerant. They're going to make the leaders that we have even worse. It's going to give them the ability to surveil all of us in a way that we've never been surveilled before. They'll be able to have a database on everyone. You know, this is what Palantir is doing in the United States right now. They're building a database on every single American citizen. They're going to compile information across all the federal agencies, everything that they have on you, from a parking ticket all the way up to a federal whatever tax thing. They're going to have it in one file. They'll be able to punch in your name or take your picture and click it, and they'll just get your entire history. Not to mention all your social media. And then the AI is going to analyze every text you've written, every post you've ever made. It's going to have a ranking of what your political ideology looks like. What is your, what are your attitudes towards this party or that party or this leader or that leader? And these are tools that are going to be deployed against us. There was the Cambridge Analytica scandal a few years ago, back in the 2015, 2016 election. Was that it? The Cambridge Analytica was this company that figured out that they could use analytics from social media. They could scan the analytics data, and they could take the data and parse it down to the street level of a neighborhood. And they could figure out like which houses in a given neighborhood were going to vote one way or another based on their social media activity. They could tell their political affiliation. They could tell what they were going to do most likely. And they had a probability outcome of their voting pattern. And so Cambridge Analytica was their claim to fame was, we can sell this information to the highest bidder, and they can use that information to sway these votes. And instead of having to, so in a traditional sense, if you wanted to swing a political campaign, you have to swing the whole campaign. But what if you could just convince a few people in a certain swing state, just enough to be the first domino that tips over the next one? You could turn an entire election on a very small number of people. And that's in fact what they did. So this is before these powerful AI tools come into the picture. Now you add the power to analyze everyone's information and get detailed outputs on every single person. I'm afraid that the authoritarian type of leadership is going to be emboldened by the freedoms that this technology gives them to do the things that they want to do. I'll say it that way. And people are asleep at the switch. I think a lot of people are. They just don't realize what's going on. And so we're not asking the questions because we don't know what questions to ask, because we're not really having an honest conversation about it. Sam Altman goes out and he's like, well, we'll cure all disease and it'll be great and everyone will be rich. But he doesn't explain how we're going to get there and what happens to all the people who lose their job along the way. And it's really confusing and frightening for a lot of people, especially people with kids right now. You know?
Yeah, 100%. And I think also on that note that we have to consider that this is available to everyone. So it's people in Russia, China, North Korea, they're all going to be where we know that Chinese are extremely advanced in their uses of AI. So, you know, these groups are also working on it as well. So whether we think our own governments have the best interest for us in these countries, and we also had to think about those sort of governments as well, you know, and AI can be trained in all sorts of ways. And in terms of, you know, controlling AI, obviously we've seen all these recent incidents of AI potentially fighting back against their webmasters, refusing to be shut down and that kind of thing. They were also leaving notes to themselves of future reference, reminding what was happening. I mean, that's frightening in its own sense. And then what really worries me is like Sam Altman's vagueness on answers, as you said. Like they were asking about controlling AI, and you know, he just says, I have faith that researchers will figure out how to avoid super intelligent AI threats. I'm a little too optimistic by nature, but I assume they'll figure it out. I mean, yeah, we're not talking about, a small little fire in the garden. We're talking about, this huge thing that could change the world massively. And he's so kind of just lethargic about how he goes around it. I mean, obviously he could say one thing to the press and one thing, internally, but you would think he would try and put some people's mind at ease, but he doesn't seem to do that.
He looks nervous all the time. And Peter Thiel looks nervous. Why are these guys all so nervous? Right? Like, just watch them. Look at their body language. They all look squirmy and nervous, and they're answering questions, and they're like, I don't really know, but I think it's going to be fine. It should make all of us uncomfortable. These guys are, each company is building something that's more powerful than atomic weapons, right? Like each individual company is working on it on their own, and they're making their own flavor of it, and they're trying to like outdo each other, and they're competing with to develop a tool that will get smarter forever. And that is alarming. That is alarming. This should be the top story, because it's so immediate. And the pace of change is the thing. This is the thing. Like in 3 years, the stuff we're talking about today is going to be such old news. Whatever happens in the next 12 months, any day now, the entire industry could change. And that's the thing that's so scary. I mean, just a few months ago, what was it? DeepSeek, the Chinese open source algorithm came out, and how many billions of dollars in market value did that wipe off of OpenAI's valuation in a single afternoon? It was just like one open source model. So, I'm not entirely sure, which direction you want to take this, but we cannot let 6 or 7 tech CEOs decide the fate of humanity. Like, that's crazy. That's insane. No one voted for these people. We don't even like them. Like, not really. Think about it. Like, who really, wants to hang out with Jeff Bezos? These are the people making decisions that are going to affect your children's lives and their children's lives. They're going to be living in the world that's being built right now. There is a hope, I think, that if among the AI enthusiasts, that if they slam the gas down as hard as they can and we just hit the accelerator, we can get enough speed and momentum, and we can develop the AI tools that will solve the environmental crisis, solve the energy problem, and solve all of the other problems along the way. Like, it's some kind of magic secret sauce that is yet to be developed, that is out there, that's going to do all these things. And the thing is, it could possibly, but like, who's guiding that process? Right now, it's just these guys. Like, Sam Altman makes the decision in a room, and like the rest of us in the world have to like live with the outcome of his decision. Same thing with Elon. And I just feel like at a certain point, you've got to start having the conversation about like, everyone in the world needs to own a piece of this, like, own it. There's a guy, a Greek economist, his name's Yanis Varoufakis, and he says that there's this idea of a universal basic income, where you get a check every month, or you get a deposit every month just for being a person, and that is your money to do whatever you want with. And then his idea, Yanis's idea, is this idea of a universal basic dividend. And it's slightly different. And he says what we should do is start a global trust, and then every 10 years we put a certain percentage of all the world's AI companies into that trust. And over the course of 50 years, we gradually put more and more and more into it, until eventually all of the AI capacity of humanity is owned by this trust that every citizen of Earth owns a piece in, and we get dividends from it. So all of the economic benefit that gets generated from these super powerful AI systems that will probably merge at some point in the future, can be shared more evenly. I don't know how you do it otherwise. I don't know of a way that like we get to some kind of like post-scarcity utopia by just pouring jet fuel onto our existing model of consumer capitalism. I just don't see how that works.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's some great points. How you doing on time? Because I know
I'm good for a few more minutes.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get on to kind of where you see kind of, obviously it's very difficult to say, but where do you think it'll go? And generally some of the benefits. So I know you don't want to be too doom and gloom, like there probably is, there are some benefits. But it does take me back to the first thing that I don't really understand I know what could happen, but I think it's very unlikely because of human history tells me that. But in terms of, when technology is advanced, like the internet, it took a long time to roll that out to even some people still now in deprived areas don't have access to the internet. Like we still haven't sorted out that side of it. And our reliance on the internet, as you said earlier, is so much. So we rely on it for nearly everything we do, banking and so on. So I don't know who wins out of this and what do they win. I think it's just one massive ego trip for those who want to get that AGI, that superintelligence, and once they get it, they can boast about being the one who got it. But in terms of like, where do you see this kind of going, and what do you suggest to those people who, may be concerned about it, or what steps should they take? I'll throw one more thing at you. And do you also see that? Because I'm seeing when I talk to most people about AI, it's like the UFO subject used to be. If people just don't even want to go there. It's like I just see when I talk to normal people, they just don't even want to go down that route because they seem like they're scared or concerned or confused.
Yeah,
or
totally.
Yeah.
It seems like this is what I mean. It felt like this in the early 1990s when people would talk about the internet. It was the same thing. They were like, "Have you heard of the internet?" And people would be like, "Internet? What's the internet?" There were literally you'd be watching like the news, like good, like or like Good Morning America would be on TV on Sunday morning, and it'd be like, "The internet. What is it? How does it work? Will it take all of our jobs away?" And it was this really bizarre time. And people didn't really know. And there was this transition period where people in like my parents' generation they weren't native to it. They had to they're like where I am now with AI versus like my kid who's growing up with it. So I can see the same, it feels very familiar to me, this moment. And I think what's going to happen next is a bunch of people are going to get left behind and a bunch of really, really amazing things are going to happen. People will make millions and millions of dollars. Now is the time, now is the punk rock time for AI. This is as good as I think it's going to be for regular folks because it's the Wild West. In the beginning of the internet, it was like that, right? In the beginning of the internet, there was no Google, there was no Amazon, there was no, Apple wasn't an internet company. It wasn't like doing all of these, it wasn't like 4 or 5 companies that owned everything. It was sort of this open space. And there was an optimism about what the internet could represent in the future. And it wasn't what we have today. This idea of like what we have today it's a transaction space. It's just like the economy all takes place there. But there was this open sort of ended optimism about what could be done with this technology. And I see that now. I would say that, it obviously does amazing things. If you are living in a remote rural area and you have access to a cell phone with a signal, you can now use ChatGPT to get decent medical advice. Like if you break a bone, you can learn how to set a bone. You have emergency medicine at your fingertips. You have assistance if you need it. It can read contracts. It can do all of these things for regular people that it used to take if you wanted someone to read through all your contracts before you sign them, you'd have to hire an attorney and pay them $150 an hour to do it. Now ChatGPT can do it in 2 seconds for free, and it saves me the trouble of making a mistake, agreeing to some terms of service that don't make sense. So like there's obvious benefit to all of this stuff. It's going to be the Wild West for a period of time. That's where we're at right now. It's going to get, as they develop the tools and figure out how to make money off of them, we'll see things standardize and change. But the people who are creative, out of the box thinkers right now, who are figuring out ways to use these tools and mix and match them and do new things with them, those are the people who are going to come out ahead. In terms of the long-term stuff, the politics of it all, I don't think we have a whole lot that we can do there other than talk about it right now. At this phase, it's about just raising awareness and making people think about it, put it on their radar and explain just how serious it all is. And other than that, I'm afraid we're just going to have to ride this wave. There's we're all on it. There's no slowing it down. It's only going to get faster. It's only going to get weirder.
Yeah, I think like many things, there's just so many, like for the average person, there's so many distractions available that you haven't really got to pay that much attention to it now, unless you're like really in the thick of it, like if you work in digital marketing. But there's no doubt it's coming down the line to impact everyone's life at some point. I just hope that governments stand up to these big corporations and actually make them responsible for their actions. If you are, like we said before, if you are going to do all this, that's fine. But obviously have the right intentions in place, have a plan how you're going to better the environment, how you're going to resolve those issues, how you're going to resolve the job market, how you're going to use it for educational purposes as children don't, miss out on those core creativity processes and stuff. I think that's what we need. Governments need to step up and not keep bowing down to these huge corporations because they want the money or the investment into their countries or whatever.
You nailed it right there. I mean, that's it. Like but for one thing, I would say it's up to us to imagine the future we want. Like, what kind of future do you want? I'll tell you what kind of future I want. I want a future where everyone can go to a doctor and get top level medical care for their entire lifetime if they need it, and it shouldn't cost anything. Why? Because that's why it's 2025. We've gotten this far. We've built a society. If our society cannot provide reliable, high quality, free medical care to every single person, then what the hell are we doing? What is all of this other stuff for? That's one thing. Education should be a top priority, free for anybody who wants it. In the United States, it's like it's a hot potato issue. Like, do we educate our children or not? I don't know. Like some basic human things. We need to take care of the basic, regular things that all people share in common and get that squared away first. And, then the private sector can sort out all of the other details about what happens with the AI tools and these companies. I mean, I think eventually we'll get there. But in the short term, governments need to do a better job of not only regulating these tech companies, but taxing them and taking that money and using it to help regular people. That's the way we do it. That's the way we get through this. Like, that's the thing that's going to make life better for everyone. I don't think it's necessarily like we nationalize Google or we nationalize OpenAI. I don't necessarily think that's the best answer, but we've got to demand more. Right? We have to demand more of our elected leaders. I know in the United States, we've spent trillions of dollars on just crazy stuff. And yet we never seem to have the money to help regular people. It's just, we're always coming up short. They're always pulling their pockets out like, oh, can't afford have universal health care. It's ridiculous.
I mean, there's in this country, we've got nurses who throughout COVID were some of the busiest people in the country, obviously dealing with dying people from COVID, and they asked for a pay rise and the government had no money. Yeah. And then suddenly AI comes along and Keir Starmer suddenly has billions in his pocket to give to AI. all these billions of pounds. We've got more people on the streets homeless than ever before, more people out of work ever before.
That's the thing that just
spending billions.
It drives me insane. It's like regular working class people, regular people like you and me that just are trying to get by and raise a family and do the right thing. They've got us fighting amongst each other over the dumbest shit. It's so stupid. And it's so obvious when you look around, you're like, we've got money. We've got money. We've got all the money. Like Jeff Bezos just rented Venice, Italy for how many days did he rent the whole city for a wedding? He spent $56 million on his wedding. All these billionaires showed up. It's like, you want money? Go get it. He's got it. Why are we all afraid of these guys? Like, everybody wants to be Jeff Bezos. Nobody wants to go tax this guy. But like, I don't understand it, man. And when we look around and you see homeless people, you see hungry people, you see the humanitarian disaster in the Middle East that's unfolding in Gaza. You see all of these different problems going on around the world. And I'm looking at our elected leaders and I'm like, is this the best we can do? Maybe AI can run it all better, but I don't know. I just feel like this is, we're in this weird window of time, this really strange, and I guess this is what it all boils down to. This moment in human history is the strangest moment ever. We're about to give birth to something that's smarter than us. Depending on who you talk to, that may have already happened. There may already be an artificial superintelligence in the wild. That's the thing that they don't really want to say. Supposedly, the U.S. government had one called, I think it was called Sentient. Was it Sentient? There's this whole like weird tweet thing. Did you ever read the tweets that about Elon supposedly terminating this superintelligence?
I thought that was Sam Altman, or was it? No.
We covered it on Night Shift a little while back. We might talk about it again today, but it was this supposedly leak. It was connected to the Matthew Brown whistleblower case, and he was basically talking about how the U.S. government had at one time a super intelligent AI, and then they destroyed it or shut it off, and something Elon did was behind that. It's a really weird story. And it went away, and it was like it's there, and then it just kind of vanished. The point is, though, we're developing a tool that at some point is going to want to take control for itself, and the people in charge of it, of doing all this, are just the worst people. It's awful. So, like, I want to stay optimistic. I'm with you, and I really hope that we get through this and come out in a way that benefits all of us. But the only way that's going to happen is if we start taxing the wealthy. These billionaires have got to pay up. We've got to get control back of our government. We cannot let the 1% own everything. We just have to wrap our minds around this, and we've got to start to agree that regular people need to get together and get on the same page and stop fighting amongst ourselves. And that is the beginning. Not, that's just step one. The AI conversation is going to be the rest of our lives. We're going to be doing this forever. And 10 years from now, whatever the world does look like, it's going to look so different than it does today that it's going to be, this conversation is going to feel silly, I think. So I just don't, it makes my head spin, Sean. It really does. I actually do lose sleep over it. I stay up at night and I'm like, how do you? It's the most slippery problem, and it's so massive. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, I'm the same. I literally do. Like, I'm quite a realist and level-headed person, and I don't try and get too much one way or the other. With AI, I feel like I'm either really stupid and I'm just kind of taking it too much one way, like I'm overthinking, or maybe I'm thinking, is everyone else just so distracted or worried or scared that they're just ignoring it? Because there are so many distractions. But, we'll wrap it up because I've taken up enough of your time already. But just to leave it with like another quote from Harari, where he was just saying, like, where's the quote? Because there's a good one.
He's got so many great ones.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to know more about, these topics, then Harari, Gawdat, you know, people like that are really, obviously Jeffrey Hinton is great. But, you know, Harari was just saying, you know, never summon a power you can't control. And he said it before, where there's not many cases in the entire human history where someone with less intelligence overpowers someone with more intelligence. And the only example he gives is when a baby has control over its mother. You know, that's probably the only case where that could be the case. But yeah, you know, I did a poll on LinkedIn, and actually most people were concerned, but actually there was a lot of optimism around it. So maybe I'm being a bit doom and gloom, but we'll see where it goes.
I don't think so. I don't think you are. I think you're looking at it exactly with a level head, an open mind. I think you're doing exactly what you should be doing. It's a scary moment. You're just at the front edge of the people who are realizing the potential impact of these tools. And, you know, you're one of the early people to start talking about it. Others will come, and it's going to become a much louder conversation as we go. But I don't think you're being doomist at all. I think that you're right on the money, man. It's a weird time. We are in a very strange time. Within a decade, probably even less, we're going to be inhabiting the earth with a being that is more intelligent than all humans combined. That's never happened before. There's no precedent for it.
I just feel like I'd say we're sleepwalking into, you know, you go into the train, everyone's on their phone looking at Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat, and they have no idea, like literally no idea what is coming or what's already here, basically. That's what concerns me.
It's like there is a UFO. There's a disk out in space approaching Earth, and we know that it's going to arrive here at some time within the next 10 years. It could be next week, it could be next year, it could be 3 years from now, but sometime, and no later than a decade, with 90% certainty. Imagine all of the smartest people in the world are all telling you, yeah, it's probably going to happen. 90% we're thinking within a decade. That's kind of the situation with AI right now. And whatever climbs off of that ship when it does land, whatever comes out is going to be more powerful than anything on Earth. And we don't really know what happens after that. That's the problem. You can't see past that point because the future becomes unpredictable. And we'll never, ever know. Once that moment comes, and this is the big like ontological thing that really keeps me awake at night. Once that moment comes, we will never really know if we're actually in charge ever again. You'll never be sure.
Yeah, because once it happens, once it happens, there's no going back. And like you've said a million times, I think it's so good. Is like this is the worst that AI is ever going to be. Like we have to consider that. Like there's no getting worse. You know, back to the Will Smith eating spaghetti days. You know, that's the worst it's ever going to be. I think people have to, you know, comprehend that. And you were just saying before we go, that Peter Thiel thing, that one clip you showed about him answering that question about humanity. I don't know if you can quickly explain what was that about, because I've just found that so weird.
He interviewed with a guy from the New York Times, who's the opinion writer. I can't remember his name right now, but he does great interviews. And he did one with Peter Thiel, and he did an article on UFOs right after that. But the Peter Thiel interview, he's asking Peter, do you think humanity should survive? Like he's basically saying, he's like, you're not an evil guy. You're not a bad person. You're just you're trying to build a company and do your thing. You know, he's like, I'm going to throw you a softball question. Do you think humanity should make it? Like, should we, you agree, right? We should all survive. And Peter Thiel like freezes and he starts to sweat, and he's just like, he's like a robot having a malfunction. He's just like, and for about a straight minute, he just sits there and doesn't answer the question. And the interviewer the whole time is like, Peter, this is a really easy answer. Just say yes. Just say yes. Like it's yes. That's the answer. But he doesn't. And it's very awkward. And that's not the only time Peter Thiel has gotten really weird when asked a very obvious, like, ethical question. He's done it before. And if you watch him, he seems like a person who doesn't really, I just, when I look at him, I see a guy who he's not wired like the rest of us. You know what I mean? There's something, I don't know how to put my finger on it, but it's like, I don't think he gets the same, emotional response from things that like we do. I think he's a different thing. I think Peter Thiel's like in his own world. And you give that guy control over a super powerful AI, and I have no idea what you can expect after that, but it's probably not good.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would,
this is a long hesitation.
So that's the situation. We've got Peter, you've got Elon, you've got Sam Altman, whatever his game plan is. Probably of all of them, the one that's the most level-headed is Jeffrey Hinton, and after him, Eric Schmidt. Gawdat, I think, is great. I love everything he has to say. I think he's got spot on the best beat on this whole situation.
Yeah, I agree. And, out of all those sort of, I know he's not really in the game anymore, but I think Bill Gates cared about humanity compared to the others. But, who knows? But yeah, I mean, look, I'm sweating here. It's like 30 odd degrees. And it's very rare in the UK, and I can't keep up. It's so hot. But no, it's been an awesome conversation. If you'll be open to revisiting it soon, because things are moving so rapid, that'd be awesome. But yeah, thank you so much.
Likewise. Hey, man, thanks, Sean, for having me on. I appreciate it. Anytime you want to do it again, I'd love to.